Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and a really special thank you to Graham McKenna, who's joining us this evening to tell us all about a challenge, a huge challenge he's got coming up. So welcome Graham, thanks for your time this evening.
Thank you.
For you guys who don't know Graham yet, he's also perhaps a little bit better known as Run Graham Run across social media. So if you want to go and have a little look and see what he's up to, then please do try and find him through Instagram and Facebook. But Graham, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your running story?
Okay, yeah. So I always used to say that I hated running. I think it's a thing that a lot of runners say, I hate running. But it was always just a tool for me, really. Back in 2003, and when I joined the army, I had to learn to run and had to get myself fit. And so that's all it was. It was always just a tool. And to be a good soldier, you have to be able to run a lot. They do make you run a lot, even when you don't want to. So that's all I ever did. And it was just a case of you put on your PT kit and then go out for a run. And I never actually thought anything of it, other than that I was fit pretty much. And then when I got out of the army, I started working just on Civvy Street, and I was watching these guys training to run for a half marathon. And at that time, I was one of those horrible people that used to say, well, why are you training for a half marathon? It just sounded ludicrous to me. So to put the money where my mouth was, I just went out and ran a half marathon, and I got a PB that I've never beaten to this day.
Oh, no.
Back in 2009. But obviously I've got older since then, and I'm not training every day like I would have been if I was still in the army. So I've got that to kind of rely on. But yeah, I didn't run again then for another couple of years, just because I didn't like it. It was just one of those things that I didn't have to do anymore. It was like a silver lining. But then I started boxing training and Muay Thai training, and I had a few fights lined up. So I knew I had to improve my cardio. And one of the best ways to do that is, as we all know, is to go for a run. So again, it was just always a tool. And that's all it ever was, really, up until, I don't know, I think I had the realization that it wasn't back in about 2018. I'd gone through some counselling in 2017 because I'd proper hit a really dark patch. And I remember chatting to my counsellor about doing an ultra because I'd run 100k. And then I ran my very first marathon towards the end of my counselling sessions. I ran my very first marathon, and she was giggling at me, and I was like, why are you laughing? And she said, you just ran for 4 hours non-stop. I said, yes, that's right. She said, and you're telling me that you don't like it? And that's when the penny dropped. I went, okay, there has to be something that's going on here. And that's when I actually realized how much running has actually pulled me out of that dark patch, and how much I rely on it, really. My wife says I've given up my other addictions to have a running addiction. I don't necessarily agree with that. I've got an addiction of how far I can actually go. I can live without running, that's fine, but I can't live without having a goal, something to aim for. And so that's why I just carry on running. That's why now I'm doing something really crazy.
Yeah, you are. Well, I'll let you tell people, what are you up to? What have you got coming up this week?
So yeah, this week I want to break a world record for the most distance traveled on a treadmill in 7 days. It's around about 20 marathons. I'm aiming to do 21, but I'll be happy to do the 20 and break it by a step if I need to. Because I think by the time we get to that point, I think once you break a record, you might end up losing motivation. It's one of the things that's in my head. What happens if I lose motivation at that point? But I'm happy with that. As long as I break the record, I'll be happy. If I don't actually hit the 21 marathons, then I can live with that. But that's the target. That's what I'm going for.
That's the aim. So 21 marathons in 7 days, and you're going to be doing it all on a treadmill, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Incredible. And obviously you mentioned your wife. Is she going to be your support team? Obviously doing sort of 3 marathons a day for a week is quite something. You know, how are you preparing for that? Have you got a team of people who are going to be there with you to keep you motivated?
No, because COVID kind of wrecked that idea.
Yeah.
As it does, because this should have happened back in May during Mental Health Awareness Week. That was the plan. But I think it was towards the end of February, beginning of March, when we seen that everything was getting locked down. I kind of made the decision alongside my team that we were going to postpone it and make that decision myself, other than have it forced on us later on in March when I think it was the 23rd, wasn't it? Everything got locked down. Because then at least that way I was still in control. And I didn't want it to, because I'm going to be fighting demons anyway on that treadmill. And I didn't want to have anything else saying like this being out of my control, if that makes sense.
Sure. And it's a long time to spend. I think obviously there's a lot of ultra runners out there who do big distances, but I think obviously when you're outside, you've got that stimulation. Do you think doing it on the treadmill is going to be more challenging than, you know, if you were to try and take this on outside? And how are you going to get around that? How are you going to get over that sort of mental boredom side of being in one room?
That's the tough bit. But luckily, because I'm doing it at Bisham Abbey, they've been absolutely fantastic. And they did show me the location of where they were going to put the treadmills, and it looks out, they've got one wall is just all windows looking outside, and they did have me just in the corner to start with, but still looking out of the window. But now that they've put me in the middle of the room, still looking outside, so at least I've got daylight to look at, and I've got I think there's tennis courts that are straight out in front of me, so I will see other things. But
you'll see people.
Yeah, but it's a case of just tuning out. I've done stupid distances on the treadmill already, and you just have to be able to turn off. And I think my military background is great for that, because you'd have to go and stand on stag for 2 hours, just standing on a gatepost for 2 hours with nothing doing. And so you do, and I know obviously 24 hours every day is a lot longer than 2 hours, but it's just that same mentality really. You've got to be able to just tune out and carry on.
Yeah. How many hours a day do you think you'll be running? Obviously three marathons a day. Are you planning on keeping it really strict to 3 marathons a day, or are you going to give yourself some days where you'll do a little bit less and rest a bit more? Or
I've got a plan to do 5-hour stints, then have a break of 5-hour stints, and then have another break. And I think the first day I'll probably do more than a marathon, not much more, maybe a few extra K. And probably on day 2 that'll be the same, but then that gives me a little bit of distance in the bank for when something bad happens later on in the week and I need an extra hour here or there because I'm injured and I need to be stretched off or go for a massage, or I don't know, or whatever things that they can throw at me really. And I'm going to try and build that in to start with. And then I've allowed myself an hour break between each one, but I think I will cut into that as well in the first few days to give myself just more leeway later on, because I think those first 2 days is going to be the setup for it. And then I already know day 3, 4 and 5 I'm going to cry. They're going to be the hard days.
Tears.
Yeah. And then day 6 is, you can see the end, and then day 7 is obviously you've done the other 6 days, so it doesn't matter. So as long as I get to day 6 and I can see the end and know that it's still possible, then I'll carry on. But I think once I get to day 6, if I've still got 200k to go, then there's no point breaking myself if I can't actually get the record, if that makes sense.
And what goes into doing a world record attempt? You know, how do they verify, and how do you keep it all sort of on track and above board? What goes into that sort of planning side of things?
It's madness. They want everything. They really do. And this is the good thing that's come from and COVID, because at first they wanted 2 independent witnesses at all times, and those independent witnesses could only do 4-hour shifts. So that meant a lot of manpower straight away, people just willing to stand there for 4 hours watching me on a treadmill. It all has to be videoed, but luckily, because COVID happened, I only need 1 witness now throughout, as long as the whole thing is videoed and I still follow all of the other criteria. Everything is still logged as it needs to be. So I need to log every hour the distance that I've done. I'll be taking pictures every hour to show the distance I've done with the clock and all the rest of it.
Okay.
Just so that they've got the evidence for when I send it all off. So yeah, COVID has got a silver lining with that point, that I don't need a whole army of people watching me, and it's made it, the planning of it, slightly easier. But
and
only
in
having
terms
one
of
person there is hard.
And in terms of videoing it, are you going to stream it live, or is it just going to be videoed for the
No,
proof purposes?
yeah, I'm hoping to go live.
Okay.
I've got a CCTV set up so that I'm recording it as a hard copy, and then hopefully everything will be going live anyway on Facebook, because then it's in the cloud, and once it goes into the cloud, it's not.
It's on Facebook. It's proof.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, yeah, but then I can download it and send them that it's there. Whereas trying to get the data off a hard drive and cutting the videos down to a size that you can actually upload, because everything has to be uploaded to them. And if you think a video that's 140 odd hours long is going to be quite big.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of sort of fueling this kind of thing, have you got a bit of a plan in place as to how you'll manage your nutrition and make sure you're sort of staying nourished and hydrated? You know, it's a lot of miles over a lot of days.
I'm horrendous at it.
Oh no.
It's my biggest downfall. And so I've been practicing being really, really disciplined. And again, I think that's just my military background. I just thought, right, how can I do it so that I've got a visual stimulus, if nothing else? So, and even if somebody is there monitoring me, they can say, right, so what I'm going to do is, like, every odd kilometre, I need to make sure I'm taking on some fluids. Every even kilometre, I need to take on a little bit of food or similar, and just work it that way. So that then, if anyone's there, like my wife is going to be there all the time, and I've got some friends coming as well. But if they're there at any point, they can just see what kilometre I'm on and whether it's an even or not, and say, right, yeah, you do need more water, or you haven't drank all of that, get it done.
Yeah, I guess just having someone else taking ownership of that side of things, especially if you're trying to zone out a little bit, I guess you can not really be thinking about that if you're mentally just trying to power through a wall, you know, or a difficult moment. Then you're not really thinking too much about fuel. Yeah,
that's where it becomes, I become more reliant on other people then. But at least I've got a plan there for them to follow and say, this is what we need to do, because I can lose weight really, really fast because I sweat a lot. And I think when I did, as a test run, I did 3 marathons, and after the first one, I'd lost 2 kilos.
Wow. Okay.
But I managed to bring that back during the second one. And then when I weighed myself at the end of the third one, I'd lost half a kilo from the start. So yeah, my weight had fluctuated that much.
Yeah, so you're really going to have to be on top of that then, because otherwise you're going to get to the end of it and you're not even going to be able to complete those last miles if you've got nothing left to burn.
No, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I am really, really disciplined about it, and I will be weighing myself after every stint. After every 5 hours, I'll be weighing myself and making sure that I have been on top of it. Or if I'm not weighing myself, somebody will be doing it.
Yeah. Reminding you.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will sit and think, why are you doing this? And you said to yourself, you know, pushing your body is really important to you, and having a challenge and something to aim for. But I know you're also running for charity. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about why you're running it and who you're running it for? Yeah, so
I've always, since I got out of the army and when I started running again, or once I started working for Circle, the company I work for, we used to do just annual challenges ourselves anyway. So I've done the National 3 Peaks, the Yorkshire 3 Peaks with them. And it was always run by one guy, and he picked the charity, and it was just a good adventure, really. But then I started my own charity fundraising when I was doing the ultras, and what I noticed was every time my distance increased a little bit, or unless my distance increased a little bit, I didn't get sponsored anymore, because people would say, well, you've done a marathon, and if I say I'm doing another marathon, can I be sponsored? They wouldn't sponsor me again. So that's why it just got a little bit crazier and crazier. So I was initially looking at doing what was it going to be? 1 million meters between me and my friend. So 1,000 kilometers over 5 days, 500k each. But then he wrecked his knee just during training when we were in the gym. So he couldn't run, full stop. I was like, well, that leaves me doing 500k on my own. That's going to be boring. It's not going to be very much fun. What can I do? So then I found the world record and was like, oh, well, that's something to aim for. But this was back in 2018. I think we had the idea to do it. And yeah, I'm raising money for Calm because I realized back to 2017, at the beginning of 2018, when I had hit rock bottom, and I'd been to some pretty awful places in my head. It wasn't nice at all, but I didn't know that Calm existed at the time. I knew about the Samaritans, and that was about it. And I still remember when things had really hit rock bottom, trying to call the Samaritans, and they were busy, and that made me feel even worse, because I was like, well, I'm not deserving. Obviously, they're that busy. I'm not deserving to be calling them. And yeah, that just compounded things in my head. It all just got a bit crazy. But I'm still here, so that's a bonus. And I worked for it. And then I noticed about Calm, and especially Calm, predominantly for males' mental health. And it's males that have got the highest suicide rate. It's the biggest killer in men under 44. So
unbelievable statistic.
It's a horrible statistic. So if I can raise awareness for Calm, then if it stops someone being in the same boat that I was, then I'm on a winner there. So that's why I'm doing it for them. So, but that's the craziest thing, is that's my biggest aim, is to point someone in the right direction when they really need it. But I'll never know that it's happened. I will know when I'm on the treadmill that, there you go, I've just done 500k, I've just done 600k, I've managed to break the world record, and I can jump and shout and be ecstatic. And I can see my Just Giving page and see exactly how much money I've raised. That's just going to be there for me to see. But I'll never know what the number one priority about pointing someone in the right direction, if it's ever happened. I can only hope that the more the message hits other people, that it does save someone.
And I think mental health is such a massive part of why so many people run, but I think it's something that people don't necessarily talk that much about, and I think other people hearing stories like yours is really encouraging for others, because you've been through a lot, you've been in the army, you've really challenged yourself and pushed yourself, but that doesn't make you immune to struggle. And
No,
I
it doesn't
think
at all. Yeah.
And I think it's really powerful to share stories, whether they're really extreme stories, or everyone just saying that there's the whole message going out around that it's okay to not be okay. And I think specifically at times like this, where the world is a little bit unsettled, it's even more poignant to be sharing those stories. So I'm sure that your message will be heard by a lot of people, and will certainly help to push it out. So you talked a little bit about Calm. What does that stand for? Who are they, and what do they do?
So they're predominantly aimed at men's mental health. It's the campaign against living miserably, because I think they realised that there wasn't anything specifically aimed at men, and yet that statistic still stands. It's the biggest killer of men, and so they wanted to end that. And they've done fantastic, and they are there all of the time to help people. And with things going the way they've gone this year, their needs have increased phenomenally. It's been unbelievable, really, the amount of calls, the change in the amount of calls that they take. So that's why they need the money to be able to keep the staff on, to be able to keep answering the calls, so that there is somebody there when they're needed.
Absolutely. And how can people donate and, you know, encourage and support you through this world record attempt?
So if they want to run with me, which initially the idea was I wanted to get people out and running, even just walking, just to show that being outside is and exercise is great for your mental health, just to get people involved. So initially what I was going to do was have as many people as I could to run 5K, and hopefully 100,000 kilometers with lots of people running together, because parkrun was on at the time. So it was an easy thing for people to do, but obviously things have changed and it's just the way that they are. So I came up with a different thing where people can just run on their own and see what they can do and challenge other people, or join a team of up to 7 people and challenge other teams, or ultimately challenge me, run for the whole week, 7 of you, and see if you can beat my target. Because it'll be an adventure. It'll give me something to push to. If they are beating me, that'll be something incredible. But that's rungrahamrun.co.uk. That's set up at, and some of the proceeds to that will go to Calm, and you get a medal at the end, a nice shiny medal, which we obviously we all like medals. That's why a lot of people run. But other than that, the link to the Just Given page is on my own website, which is just grahammckenna.co.uk. I would give you the Just Given one, but it's the one that they've sent me at the moment is a little bit crazy because it's just a really long-winded.
We can put it, I'll put it in the notes to this as well, so people can click straight through. Okay. And where can people follow your efforts and cheer you on?
Hopefully I'll be going live on Facebook once it starts, and that'll be through my it's at Run Graham Run on Facebook. Okay. You can go and see all of my crazy escapades on there and what I've been up to during training and other things. And I think there's a 15-minute video on there going a little bit more in depth of where my head was at the time and why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, just jump on there and I'll be going live on that whenever I'm running throughout. I think hopefully, providing the technology works and everything else, that's where that'll be.
Amazing. And when do you start?
6 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Okay, so we'll be there and we'll be cheering you on. And honestly, best of luck. It's a phenomenal challenge to set yourself, and and a really important cause to try and raise awareness of. So well done for that, and we'll do everything we can to support you at the National Running Show as well.
Thanks very much.
No worries. Good luck, Graham.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.